All right, everyone, we will kick off shortly. We are a bit ahead of time. There's a Q&A function, so if you have any questions, pop them in the Q&A function and we will pick those up. We're expecting around about 210 people in the call tonight. So we've got a little way to go with only 81 in here at the moment. Jody, if you want to, maybe I can allow your mic. I will. So Jody, if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to ask your question now.
I am the Auslan interpreter that's been booked for this event. There's also another Auslan interpreter, and we were given the link to register. So we've both registered, but now I'm realizing that we both are unable to turn on our cameras in order to interpret. Is it possible to have my camera enabled?
Yours is done.
Fantastic. So the other interpreter has also arrived, and I'll just get her to put her hand up, and if you could enable her camera as well, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
No worries. And Jerry, your camera's enabled as well. Not sure if either of you want to turn your camera on because they're not coming through at the moment. Jerry, I've enabled your mic if you want to unmute and you can ask.
Jerry's camera isn't working. I've just gotten a text message. There we go. We have it. Would you be able to unmute us as well? We won't need to speak unless is necessary.
Yep, no, that's cool.
Thank you.
All right, we've just turned everybody's cameras on. If anybody wants to show their beautiful faces, your cameras are all enabled. Again, Q&A is there. We've got 116 people on the call at the moment. We'll kick off at 7:33. All right, we will kick off 127 people, so about 50% of the way, but very conscious everybody is busy, and so we will take that into account and move forward. Thank you for attending tonight. We have quite a few slide decks for you tonight to go through. We'll go through the slides. We will make the slides available at the end of the night. Happy for you to hold your questions and see if we answer them. Terry, your question will be answered on about slide 7 tonight, so we'll get to that. There is quite a fair bit of information, but feel free to pop your questions in the chat, and we can go through from there. Mitchell's going to run the majority of the slides tonight. Mitchell is one of the 2 deputy contingent leaders and I will pick up the remainder of the slides and the Q&A session at the tail end of tonight. So Mitchell, I will hand over to you, and you can begin tonight's proceedings.
Thanks, Chris, and hello everybody. Great to see so many people online. So Jamboree coming up, pretty close, pretty exciting. So a bit of an agenda for tonight. So we'll be just running through a few things around the site. We'll talk about a few administrative things, have a little bit of a look at the program, in particular around those activities that are just for our leaders and our Venture Scout service leaders. Talk a little bit about health and wellbeing, packing day, travel plans, and then as Chris mentioned, we will jump into a Q&A session. So where are we at? So 58 days, the New South Wales contingent team will depart Sydney. In 62 days, the first contingent youth members arrive on site. And for the majority of people on the call, 63 days until the buses roll in. And then 72 days, the buses roll out, and 76 days, everyone is back home. So we'll come very quickly and go even quicker. So we'll jump into a site update and talking around the site. We've got test and tag requirements, what to do if something's not working on the site, a little bit around the emergency practice, the campsite setup, and the important thing, catering. So a couple of weeks ago, Chris, Alex, myself, and Steve were up in Queensland and visited the Jamboree site for our JCC meeting. And the site is still very much a work in progress. Chris has circled on here the area that the service leaders have been allocated. And just to the right of that, there's the area that the Venture Scout service leaders have been allocated. The area where the Venture Scouts and the service leaders are camping is quite nice. Some of the Jamboree units out in the back part of the site that you can sort of see Nagle Street up the top there. They've got a lot of trees and a little bit of bushland, but where the service leaders and the venturers are, it's quite nice. Test and tag requirements, so appliances such as CPAP machines and similar must be test and tagged. It's recommended that phone and laptop chargers are as well, and a local electrician will be able to assist with these things. The next one is around facilities not working. So for those of you taking a mobile device, you'll be able to do this from your mobile device. And it is a web portal which allows you to log a ticket for something that's not working. So if there's an issue with a bathroom or you see a bin overflowing or anything like that, you will go to the portal, which will allow you to raise a ticket that then gets escalated to the Jamboree Organising Committee for them to prioritise an action. If you're not bringing your device, that's okay. There'll be communal devices around the service leader and the Venture Scout service leader subcamp, which will allow for the reporting of any issues. On Monday, the 6th of January at 5 p.m, we'll be conducting an emergency practice. So for those people who have been to a Jamboree before, it's very common that on the first day of the Jamboree that an emergency practice is done. And this is so that all of the participants at the event understand what the alert sirens are and what the process is in case there is an emergency. So the alert siren will be activated and the ECC, which stands for the Emergency Control Centre, will take control of the site and make announcements. All participants will be required to return to their unit site, their subcamp or their work zone and remain there until the practice has concluded, and speak with your subcamp leader or activity leader to determine which would be best for you to return to. No need to remember all of this stuff. It will be reiterated once you arrive on site. So campsite setup. So when you arrive, your subcamp team will help you find your unit's allocated site, and don't just set up where you feel like it. Follow the directions of the subcamp staff, and the G5 unit will be placed in a central location on the subcamp. So the G5 unit is the big shipping crate that all of your tents and stretchers and things like that will be shipped in. Be respectful of other people's equipment within the G5. So there'll be, a number of people's gear in there, and we're all scouts here, so of course we're being respectful. So minimum expectations of the camping standard for a safe and hygienic environment, which is included in the handbook, which we'll touch on shortly, is everyone should have a first aid kit, drinking water, ensuring that rubbish goes in the bin, and any food that you may have is stored appropriately. Things like gateways and stuff like that will be managed by the subcamp team. And the subcamp teams will, routinely do inspections throughout the subcamp to make sure that they are being upheld to the highest standard. Jamboree catering. So this is a really exciting bit because who doesn't love eating? I do. So all of our service leaders and Venture Scout service leaders, so there's approximately 1,900, will eat in the place called the Eatery. And this is located between Montgomery and Chile headquarters, and it's very close to the service leaders area and not too far from our Venture service leaders area. The kitchen is being run by a contracted company who will prepare, cook and serve all of the delicious food. And the core meal timings are, so breakfast is between 5:30 and 7, lunch between 12 and 1, and dinner between 5:30 and 7. These are subject to change, but again, your leaders and your line managers will be communicating with you around any changes to that. There will be options and arrangements for meals outside of the core times for people who can't make them. Any leaders that are going off-site for the day are to make lunch at the buffet style area, and you make your lunch immediately after your breakfast. And the first meal is lunch on the 6th of January, and we're working through what breakfast looks like for everybody at the moment. So we'll now move into a bit of an administration update and talking about your job allocations, youth and adult handbooks, ID cards, adult communications, and incident reporting. So the Jamboree Organising Committee are working through the job allocations at the moment, and we're expecting these within the next 2 weeks. And these will appear at the bottom of your OLMS application on the Skills and Job tab. So there are some people who have been allocated already. There are a number who haven't. And once everybody is confirmed, we will write to all service leaders and Venture Scout service leaders, informing them that their allocations are final. And what you can expect, some people may have already been approached by their Jamboree line manager, but what you can expect is that your Jamboree line manager or your unit manager will reach out to you in relation to the finer details of what your role at the Jamboree is. We do acknowledge that a number of people have asked what they're doing at the Jamboree, and unfortunately the allocation of jobs sits outside of the responsibilities of the contingent. We just provide the great enthusiastic humans, and then Scouts Queensland and the Jamboree Organising Committee work through allocating those people based on the preferences that they've put in and what skills and abilities that they have indicated. Shortly, youth and adult handbooks will be published, and they'll be available online via a wiki in Jira. So essentially, it's just like instead of having a PDF document, it's an online document that will be available to be used on any personal device that is connected to the internet. And we're hoping this to be published in the next week or so. And it'll be updated regularly as information changes, as times change, and things like that. So it'll be a really useful tool, particularly in the lead up to the Jamboree, to give you a little bit more understanding around what the Jamboree looks like. ID cards. So everyone gets a lovely card that has their face on it that they get to keep forever and ever, and they have to wear it around their neck at all times. Really exciting. So the ID cards will be distributed by the New South Wales contingent upon your arrival to the site. If you happen to find a lost ID card, it needs to be handed into the Jamboree Support Centre and not the individual or the contingent headquarters. And this is because every card is allocated to an individual. If someone has lost a card, the chances are they've already been issued a replacement card. So that card that you find will no longer work. So they're requesting all cards are handed into the support centre, and that'll be clearly articulated in your in the handbook. As it says there, your ID card must be with you at all times, and you must scan your card for on and off site, so we know who is there and who is not there. Into the eatery, so if you get to the eatery and you don't have your card, you have to go back and get it. And then you also use your card. Touch wood, no one needs to use it for the first aid and medical centre, but if you do, you'll be required to scan in and out, and that's just so the contingent can have visibility on who is in the first aid and the medical centre. There'll be daily SMS messages sent to adults and Ventura Scout service leaders, and these will be sent through to the primary number registered in OLMS. So it's really important that everybody checks that they've updated their number, and particularly for our Ventura Scouts, make sure this is your number and not your parents' phone number. I'm sure your parents will be really, really happy to get a message that says, make sure you put some sunscreen on today, but really important, we want that message to go to you. So ensuring that your phone number is in that primary contact. The SMS service will be used for headline announcements, so weather alerts, special program mentions, and general announcements around the operations of the event. Incident reporting. So there's 3 phases of incident reporting. We've got the report, the response, and then investigation and review. All reporting will be done online via a Jira form, similar to how we do things in Scouts New South Wales. And similarly, we'll be reporting all incidents, hazards, and near misses. For our adults on the call, any youth safe or child safe concerns will be reported via a different form. And it's really important to note here that in Queensland, all people 18 years and over are mandatory reporters, which means that if you come into knowledge of any issues or incidents involving young people, it needs to be reported straight away to the Emergency Control Centre. It's really important that the Emergency Control Centre is notified. We do have a Jamboree police team on site, and under the legislative requirements, the person reporting through to the ECC is essentially reporting it through to the police. So we've met our mandatory requirements in that regard. We'll now quickly jump into a health and wellbeing update. So we'll talk about your health and wellbeing team, the medical centre, first aid, heat exposure, and medication management. So the health and wellbeing team is there to provide support for any health and wellbeing matters that require escalation. So we call these people our contingent welfare leaders, or wellbeing leaders, sorry, or commonly known as CWLs. And they also act as a communication channel from the contingent down and from the participants up. And it is a tough job for them, and it's really important that we make them feel welcomed and loved. And the contact phone numbers for these members will be given to you with your Jamboree ID card. So the 3 people that we have looking after our service leaders and our Ventura Scout service leaders, we've got Alice, Beth, and Corey. And no doubt the 3 of these people will meet you all when you arrive on site, and will be there to assist and support you in any way that you need during the event. We're lucky enough to have an on-site medical centre, which officially opens from the 5th of January and will be staffed by doctors, nurses, and limited allied health personnel, such as dentists, pharmacists, and physios. And it'll be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's really important that if we are feeling unwell, excuse me, if you are feeling unwell or you've had an incident, that where possible, you make an appearance at the marketplace first aid post first. And this is just so the medical centre can be triaged and people are going, getting any incidents or concerns dealt with at the lowest possible level. If a participant requires first aid, there'll be a number of sites around the Jamboree site where you can receive first aid. We've got the marketplace, each of the sub camps, and there'll be a first aid post at the on-site and off-site activities, and the operating times are there, and this will also be made available in the handbook. Heat exposure, so we're going to Queensland at a very, very warm part of the year. When we were up there a couple of weeks ago, it was quite warm and humid already. So it is imperative that all participants maintain adequate amounts of cool liquids. So consumption of electrolyte replacement products, sport drinks, energy drinks, hydrolyte, those sort of things are not recommended. And when they're used incorrectly, they can create a lot more issues than they solve. So recommendations are cool liquids, sucking on ice, frozen fruit, and we recommend watermelon or any other juicy fruits. And there will be a number of water stations and accessibility to ice and things like that throughout the site. And it's really important that we do all take on that responsibility of ensuring that we are as well hydrated as possible. Water and cordial will be available at all first aid posts in the medical centre as well. And wide-brimmed hats, collared shirts, sunscreen are all critical. If you're bringing any medication to the event, it's important that the contingent is notified of it, and it's really important that you bring all medication that you need. This includes Nurofen and Panadol, and medication should be stored in a multi-dose medication pack. These are commonly referred to as a Webster pack, and as the point 3 there says, ensure that your OLMS application is up to date with all of your information. This ensures that the contingent can best support you and make sure that you have an awesome jamboree. And if you're on medication that we don't know about, it makes it very hard for us to be able to support you in the best way we can.
Mitchell, sorry, I'm so sorry to have to interrupt you, but I think there's just a few problems with access tonight. I believe that Jody is on camera, but I'm being told by one of the deaf participants that they can't see her. Can you see her?
I'm going to speak now and see if that makes a difference. Can you hear me talking?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't see Jody. I can see you, Jerry, but
right.
not. Yeah.
All right. I'll keep going, but if someone can possibly look at that in the background, that would be great. Thank you.
If we can just, the person that you are signing for should be able to pin your camera so that they constantly see you. So if you click the 3 little dots.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I'm sure that bit's fine, but it's just a bit of a problem if they can't see Jody, but obviously she thinks that she's visible. So anyway, sorry, we're taking up too much time. I'll keep going. It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you need someone to assist in the management of your medication, please send us an email at nsw.contingent, and one of our health and wellbeing team will be able to get to you. We'll now move into the fun part, and this is talking about the program. So as service leaders and Venture Scout service leaders, we are there to support our scouts and participants in delivering the program. So a number of people on the call will be allocated to assisting in program activities. So we have 3 off-site activities, being your attraction at Australia Zoo, your sites, which is the city tour, the Maryborough tour, and your seaside, which is water activities. We then have a number of on-site activities, which cover some of our special interest areas, sports, STEM, vertical, and of course, entertainment. And the most important thing for people on the call is your escape, which is the program activities for leaders and Venture Scout service leaders. So there are a number of different options for your escape, and this is an opportunity for the activity leaders to escape from the jamboree and get out and about. A number of these activities are need to be booked, and you'll be able to book these closer to the event, and they will also have a limited spots available. So it is important that if there's something that sticks out to you, you do book. So some of the options are day visits into Gympie and Maryborough, self-guided tours through Maryborough, trip to Australia Zoo, visit Kagari and go on a four-wheel drive tour. For our adults only, there'll be the Bundaberg Run Distillery and wine and cheese tours throughout. Obviously, those are not available for our Venture Scout service leaders. Visitors Day. So all visitors need to book to attend Visitors Day, and everyone on the call would have seen emails and Facebook posts and all of the communication channels around Visitors Day. There are no personal vehicles that will be allowed on site, and you must park in the designated off-site parking location, which is in Maryborough, at the Maryborough Speedway, and they will run a shuttle service which will bring the parents and guests into the site and then take them back to the Speedway. There's no blue card required, and the 3 visitors days are the 10th, 11th and 12th of January. The 11th of January is what we call Future Scout Day, and this is the day that every person at the Jamboree will be guaranteed to be on site. The 10th and 12th of January are program days, so this does mean that Scouts will be undertaking the program. So on the 10th and 12th, we will have a number of Scouts at Australia Zoo, in Maryborough, at water activities. So if you're planning on bringing some of your family in, that's great. The 11th is probably the day to do it. So we'll jump into packing day, so something a little bit closer to home and coming up upon us very, very quickly. So packing day is currently 16th of November at Cataract Activity Centre, and gates will open from 7:30 a.m. on the Saturday. Service leaders that are allocated to sleep with Jamboree units, your gear and equipment will need to be packed in that unit's G5. So essentially you become part of that unit from a gear perspective, and that gear will need to be transported with your unit. All other service leaders and Venture Scout service leaders will need to pack your gear in the respective G5 units. So we'll have some G5 units for our service leaders and G5 units for our Venture Scout service leaders. And it's really critical that you pop your things in the right packing crate. Otherwise your tent, stretcher will end up somewhere that is not where you want it to be. So in terms of what you can bring and how much space to allocate you, ideally you would have partnered up with someone to camp with and share a tent. So particularly for our Venture Scout service leaders, this can be someone within your Jamboree unit, and the Jamboree organising team should have made contact with you or will do very shortly. If you're not planning on sharing, that's okay, but please consider a maximum of a 4-person tent for yourself and no bigger. It is also important to note here that we will not be accepting Oz tents and those really awfully long tents because they won't fit in our G5 unit. So in the G5, each person is able to bring a tent and a chair, and it's important that everything is clearly labelled with your name and phone number. Rough figures, we've got 120 Venture Scout service leaders and around 300 service leaders. So that's potentially 300 chairs and 300 tents. We want you to be able to get yours. So the better label it is, the less chances there are of it going walking. On the bus with you, you can take your 90-litre roller bag, which we will be providing you. And this is where you can put your sleeping bags, pillows, stretchers and the like. In terms of the packing day process, so we're asking all participants to arrive at Cataract and follow the directions of the staff, and you'll be directed past the containers and to sites 1 or 10 to drop off your gear. Once you've popped your gear into the G5 unit, you will then proceed back to the gear
Looks like we've lost Mitchell. Okay, so
Hopefully
once you're...
I'm back.
Yep, go for it.
So you'll get your roller bag, your backpack, drink bottle, shirt, scarf, hat, badges, probably more things, but that'll all be available at the contingent sheds for collection. If you are unable to collect your gear in person, we are asking people to nominate who is going to be collecting your gear. And on the screen, there is a QR code. And also in the special edition newsletter, there was a link to fill in a form.
I think we've lost him that time because his face disappeared. So in the special edition newsletter was a link to the form to complete to tell us who is collecting your gear. The QR code on your screen now will take you to that form if you are not able to collect your gear on the day. If you have not instructed somebody to collect your gear, the cost of posting that to you will be yours. We won't be posting that to you at our expense, and there will be limited opportunities to pick it up. So pickup of your gear is on the 16th at Packing Day at Cataract. And if you can't make that, please organise for somebody else to pick that up for you. To clear up some dates and times of everybody's travels, we are finalising the bus allocations at the moment. We are very close to having those finalised. Collection points have been finalised and are with the contractor for their feedback to confirm they can fit the buses in there and it's actually going to work. For everybody who has ticked independent travel, your drop-off time is likely to be between or around about 9 a.m. on the 6th of January at Baddo's Scout Hall. We will send more information, but Baddo's Scout Hall is where independent travellers will be dropped off, and we will need to bus you on site. And your collection will be from 7 a.m. on the 16th, which means you will need to sleep the night in the hall. All of it's to be confirmed. We are firming it up at the moment and coming back to that. Any independent travellers who are driving must apply for their long-term parking permit. So if you haven't done that, please ensure you do that very quickly. The contingent arrives on the 6th of January. Our buses will roll in between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. What time does that mean you'll be picked up? My suggestion is chuck it into Google, see how long it's going to take for a bus to drive from your address to the site. Take that away from your 6 a.m. mark and that'll give you a rough pickup time. From Sydney, it's around about 16 to 18 hours. Our expectation is that everybody will arrive on site in their New South Wales contingent shirt and jamboree scarf. So please have that ready for you. I would suggest when you get on the bus being in your uniform or similar so that you can change halfway. Anybody going from Sydney, the bus will reek by the time you get there if you don't change. We will be departing the site between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. on the 15th and 16th of January respectively. So that is straight after closing ceremony. Scouts ACT are going and then Scouts Victoria and then us. So it is a change from what we've traditionally done. And we've already mentioned that the Jamboree unit, who is the primary people on the bus, will have a mid-size esky for food on their bus. They can take any solar panels or batteries. The same with yourself if you need a solar battery or panel or solar panels or battery, you can pop that on. All batteries must be in a battery box and a 90-litre roller bag. So there is nothing else that you can take on the coach. That is for space and for weight limitations. We often overload our coaches, so we do need to be fairly strict with that. Your coach captain will make contact with you once they've got their list and it's all finalised, and they'll confirm your date and time for pickup, your exact pickup location, and what they're doing for food on the bus. You will see your travel details appear in your OLMS application when they're ready to be published. So just a reminder, if you need anything, nsw.contingent@nsw.scouts.com.au is the email address to send it to. Please don't email our directors individually. Please send it to the contingent team so that we can pick it up. And please don't email the JOC directly unless it's in relation to your application and getting into the application system. If you have any concerns from a health and wellbeing perspective, raise them through your contingent wellbeing leaders, which is Alice, Beth, and Corey, and we will get their details out to you shortly. If you have an outstanding payment or blue card, please ensure that you get those completed. Blue cards must be completed before you get on the bus. If it is not completed, you will not get on the bus. Blue cards are for those who turn 18 before the event. So yeah, just if you haven't done your blue card by now, you will struggle. There is no refund. If you haven't done it, there is no refund. The team and I are all doing our best. We do volunteer. So we are requesting everybody to remember to live by the Scout law and promise in everything that we do. And as I mentioned, the team are doing what they can and putting in the hours that they can to get all that happening. So that brings us to our Q&A session. So if you can pop your questions in the Q&A session, they'll pop through and we'll go through them. Tara's asked, who do I speak to regarding the Visitors Day as you have a parent who has mobility issues? Pop all of that in your form. If they bring their wheelchair, they will organise to get your wheelchair to site with you. But pop it all in the registration form when you fill that in, Tara. And if you get stuck, let us know as a contingent and we'll raise that through the JOC for you. Nick has asked clarity around leaving at 11 p.m. on the 16th of January to arrive at Sydney in the early morning. Nicholas, some people will be home by 4 o'clock in the morning. That's just their travel time. So we will be departing the site between 11 p.m. on the 15th of January and 1 a.m. on the 16th of January. Megan has asked about backpacks on the bus. Yes, your backpack can go on the bus along with your pillow. Pillows are not to be strapped to the outside of your bag. When you get your 90-litre roller bags, it has some shock cord on the top of it. Nothing to be under the shock cord until the bag comes off the bus. That shock cord's there for you to put your pillows on when it comes off the bus. Someone dropped out during the packing day. What happens if you are with a unit? How do you pick up your gear? I don't understand. If you're a service leader attached to a unit, you will need to pick up your gear, but you'll need to pack your personal gear, so your tent and chair, with your Jamboree Scout unit that you're sleeping in. But you will need to collect your own gear or fill in the form and have your Jamboree Scout leader pick it up for you. How long is too long? My tent is 120 centimetres packed, but my chair and stretcher also fit in the bag. Melanie, you'll need to check the dimensions of a G5 crate, which is available on the jamboree.nsw.scouts.com.au. I think 1.2 is going to be too long to go into the G5, but if you check, my suggestion is if it's going to fit, you're going to need to be there early to get that in first. Stretchers are mentioned in the newsletter about going into the G5. Absolutely, you can pop your stretcher, your chair, and your tent in the G5. That you bag them so that they don't get wet. We will try and waterproof the container as much as we can, but we do suggest you bag them so they don't get wet and you label them appropriately. How and when do we go to book our preferred options for your escape? That'll be made available in OLMS, which is your online event registration, closer to the event. And when the Jamboree Organising Committee let us know that they are opening that up, we will share that out. You will need to converse with your activity manager, leader, whatever you want to call them, to make sure that it works for your day off. Liz has asked how you sort tents. Liz, ideally, you will have a tent for yourself and one other who you might know is going. If you don't, then you bring your own tent, no bigger than a 4-man tent, and pop it in the G5 crate with your name on it. Joseph's asked if he can visit his kids on Visitors' Day. Yes, of course, you'll be able to visit them on any day, providing you've had a conversation with their Jamboree unit leader or Jamboree scout leader, and work out when you can go and visit them. So yeah, please remember the Jamboree scout leader is the person in charge of your kids at the Jamboree, and they need to be consulted if you're going to go and visit. So please have that conversation, but by all means go and visit. Sue says, what if your region has already packed your gear in their crates, i.e. outside of Sydney? That's fabulous. But Sue, it might be a long walk from your Jamboree unit crate to where you will be camping. So my suggestion is that you ask them to pack your stuff into a different crate if you're asking them to do it, and that would be into the service leader crate. But if they are packing it into their unit crate, that could be a bit of a hike for you when you get there. Are we allowed a stretcher? Yes. Gear for G5s, tent chair, stretcher. Yes. Stretchers, yes. How do bookings for escape day? I think I've covered that one off. Cameron's asked, where do we check what our allocated jobs are? As we said, they'll be published towards probably in the next 2 weeks via your OLMS application. So that is the place that you registered. The registration that you completed to attend the Jamboree is your OLMS application. So yeah, pop into your OLMS application and you will see it there. The recording will be shared. Yes, we will pop that up. Panadol does not need to be in a Webster pack. It does need to be in its original packaging, please. Where do we go to check if it's our number? Alice, you log into your application and it's on your front page. Information about you, your primary phone number. Do Jamboree scout leaders, and I'm going to say junior service leaders, have access to Jira? Yes, they will get access to be able to see the handbooks. If you're assigned to a unit to camp with, do you eat with that unit? Yes, you do. So Lillian, if you are a service leader attached to a Jamboree unit, you eat with that unit. Does the catering information apply to junior service leaders, Venture Scout service leaders? Yes, it does. We'll be sharing a link to the deck. Yes, we will post the deck afterwards. All right, now I need to scroll to the top. Okay, going to in review.
Chris, I think start from Crisco Walter's question and work up.
Which is where? Because I'm not getting that one.
In publish.
Okay, let me. Does electrical needs to be do electrical cords need to be tested and tagged? Is that the one I'm starting with? Yes. Okay. Yes. Any power leads should be tested and tagged, please. I remember one of the leaders from the New South Wales group mentioned at the 2 a.m. at the 16th, then arrive later in the afternoon. The 16th is the day we're going home, Nicholas. Sorry. So we will depart between 11 p.m. on the 15th and 2 a.m. on the 16th to head home. Should my unit have contacted me? I haven't heard anything. As a Venture Scout, Liz, yes, they should have. If they haven't, I wouldn't be overly worried about it. But if you are, send us a note. We'll, via email, we'll look you up and get back to you. I don't know the group for the bus to meet at the 5th. That's correct. We will give you all of that information shortly. And your local Jamboree Scout leader, who is likely to be your bus captain, will make contact with you. Are we currently meant to know information about the unit that you are with? Probably not. Ideally, somebody from that unit would have contacted you, Theodore. If they haven't, don't be too worried about it. Please continue to progress with packing for yourself. Jenny says, I've been allocated a role and I'm a service leader. Can you please clarify if I need to camp with my formation unit and need to pack my tent? Jenny, if you're allocated to a unit as a service leader attached to the unit, then the Jamboree Scout leader will have made contact with you. If not, then you will be going as a service leader unattached, which means you need to pack your items into the service leader G5 crate. If you still don't understand, shoot us an email and we will pick that up and take that up with you. Should we ask questions previously submitted before this Q&A? If we haven't answered them, Kim and Jeremy, please ask them again. We did think we got as many of them as we could. Each Ventura Scout needs to go and pick up their stuff at Cataract, asked Amanda. Yes, that is correct. Each Ventura Scout service leader, if they're a participant, so therefore they are a member of a Jamboree Scout unit, no, their items will be allocated to their Jamboree Scout leader. If you're a Ventura Scout service leader, you will need to attend Cataract to pick up your gear. You'll also need to pack your tent in the Ventura Scout service leader G5 unit because you cannot take it on the bus with you. Where do I find out if I am with my group unit or if I'm sleeping with service leaders? Mary Jo, if you haven't heard from a Jamboree Scout leader, you will be sleeping with service leaders at this point. I'm volunteering my time and flying into Harvey Bay Airport. Is there transport available? No. So I would suggest, John, that you liaise with a transport provider up there. You'll be an independent traveller, so depending on the day that you are arriving will depend on whether you are actually permitted on site. So you may need to email us about that so we can help you a little bit further. Can we coordinate your escape activities with friends who are also service leaders? Absolutely, providing it works for their line manager. You can do that, so yep, that's not a problem. Stretchers can go on the bus? No, stretchers go on the G5. Stretchers go in the G5 unless they fit in your 90-litre roller bag. The only thing that you can take on the bus with you is your 90-litre roller bag. So if your stretcher fits in it, happy days. If not, in the G5. Does my stretcher bed go on the bus with me or in the Pantech? It goes in the G5 crate. Allocated service leaders eat with their allocated unit? Yes, they do. Can a unit drop off a tent and chair for a service leader on packing day? Yes, they can. Can they collect the badges? Yes, they can. You need to fill in the form so that we can allocate your items out. If you have not filled in the form, we will not be giving it out. If you're attached to a unit, do you collect your badges from the unit? Not as a service leader, they'll be given to yourself. And can you take your day pack on the bus? Yes, you can. Where do I find the OLMS link? AJ2025.com.au and update my registration. To confirm if a service leader is attached to a unit, then they still need to collect their own contingent gear or fill in the form. That is correct. Service leaders attached to units still complete the form or pick up their own gear. If you're not with a unit, how do you know which G5 crate to put your things in and where you're sleeping? Darcy, the G5 crate will say service leaders or Ventura Scout service leaders. If you're a Ventura Scout, it goes in the Ventura Scout one. If you're an adult, it goes in the other one. And when you get to the site, your respective subcamps will help you determine where you are sleeping and putting up your tent. What if between now and then you want to be picked up by family from Queensland? Emma, we can change your travel arrangements. I'll probably pull my hair out because I've spent hours trying to allocate them, but send an email through to the contingent and we will update your travel arrangements to be independent travel. Is there a size restriction on the chair? I'm not quite sure what a quad fold camp chair is. If it's not too big, that should be fine. Just remember, we are trying to put a lot of people's gear into those crates. You also need to remember the chair probably needs to fit in the front of your tent. You don't take it to the eating hall or anything like that. So it's really only to sit on at your tent if you need to. Can you sleep in a different unit with an adult in the same group as you rather than sleeping in the service leader section? No, if you are not allocated to a Jamboree unit, then you must sleep in the service leaders camping area. Can't find the G5 crate information. Gabby has posted the link there in the question, but go to jamboree.nsw.scouts.com.au and under unit resources, I think it is, there's a fact sheet on the G5 palette. If they're opening the offsite escapes for leaders before we find out what our jobs are? How do you ask the leaders? They won't, offsite stuff won't be opened up before, or sorry, escapes will not be opened up before you, before your job allocations. When do we find out if we're attached to a unit? Jeffrey, that should have already happened. If you haven't heard from us, then you are a service leader. Where do we apply for a parking permit? David, you go to AJ2025.com.au. I think it's about us. Let me just...
Links in the chat.
Fabulous. Yeah, AJ2025.com.au. Under the About button at the top, there's a parking option so that you can go and complete that. Just finding where we got to. What time does packing day end? We would like packing day to be finished by around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but being realistic, it's probably about 5 o'clock on Saturday. So 7 till 5. Jira is just a platform that they're using to upload all their documents and fill in some forms. So it's just a platform accessible via the web. Do service leaders not attached to a unit have access to pack things in crates, or do these people require everything to be placed in their bags? So, so service leaders not attached have some G5 crates that will go to the service leaders area, and that is where you pack your tent, your stretcher, your chair, and any of those other bits and pieces that you need that don't fit in your 90-litre bag that you're taking on the bus. Do service leaders need to have Webster packs? Yes, the preference is that they do. If it's a vitamin, then I don't see an issue with it, but if it's medication, they'd like them in a Webster pack. If you get taken to the medical referral centre, then it's far easier to take a Webster pack and have that administered and supported with you than it is to try and pick up 6 or 7 different bottles of stuff. So please, Webster pack is preferred for everybody. If we previously said we were going on a bus, can we change and drive ourselves? If so, who do we notify? Absolutely. You email nsw.contingent@nsw.scouts.com.au and we will update that. My preference, if you want to update your travel arrangements, is you do it in the next 48 hours because I've spent the best part of 6 hours today trying to put together the coach manifests. So if you're changing your travel arrangements, please send it through to us today or tomorrow. Are we allowed to bring chargers for power tool batteries? And if so, do we have access to 240 volts at the service leader site? Yes, I don't see why you can't. There is likely to be power available in your service leaders area to charge those bits and pieces. USB cables and power banks do not need to be tested and tagged. No. Where do we pick up our tents and chairs when we return to Sydney? The 1st and 2nd of February. So the 1st of February, I think it is the Saturday, and that is unpacking weekend at Cataract. As an independent traveller, where will your daughter and I sleep on the 15th prior to being picked up on the 16th? You'll be taken off-site and put at the Baddo Scout Hall, and you'll sleep at the Baddo Scout Hall overnight. I've already completed the contingent gear pickup form, but someone else from the unit is now the collection person. Will this mess things up? Can you submit a second form and then email the contingent and let us know the second form and the confirmation of the person who's picking it up, Kim? That would be fabulous. We can then work that out. Michelle says, anyone who needs to buy a tent, Anaconda currently has a sale on the Coleman Instant Up 4-man tents. We're driving. Can we arrive early on the 15th? If you want to arrive early on the 15th, Matt, that's fine, but everybody's going home. I'd suggest arriving on the morning of the 6th rather than the 15th. How do you tag the power cables and chargers? Speak to your local electrician. Battery packs you don't need to worry about. It's only if it's a 240 volt item. So yeah. When will we find out if we're going back to a group or the service leaders camp? If you haven't been informed yet that you are sleeping in a unit line, then you will be in the service leaders camping area, and please plan to be in the service leaders camping area. First time Venturer Scout doesn't know anyone else who is going. Is there a way they can find someone to share with? Amanda, shoot us a note. We will do some digging and let you know what we can find for you. Can we collect our Venturer directly after closing or prior to the bus leaving? We need to fly back to Sydney. Justin, we need to get them off-site. We can't do collection on-site. So we will liaise directly with all of those independent travellers. And the chances are you can pick them up from the off-site location at Batto Scout Hall from around about 11 p.m. It's done the refresh, so I need to go and find where we got to. Okay, we can take a medium-sized esky on the bus. Best thing to do is liaise with the coach captain before you take an esky on the bus, because they will already have eskies on the bus. So please have a conversation with them and you know, explain your needs of what needs to go in the esky, and they'll let you know. Please don't take another one. During the Jamboree, your 90-litre bag, backpack and belongings just kept inside your tent? Yes, that is where they are kept. Do you need a dilly bag with utensils? Yes, you do. Will buses be based off our home unit or home address? It's off your home unit, Naomi, but I think we've got you departing from Oatley. Is there some way to ship gear to Cataract to have it put in the G5 crate? Chanel, best thing is to contact your local Jamboree Scout unit who is going and seeing if they can take it with you or with them. But otherwise, I'm not quite sure how you would plan to get it there. Power banks can be taken on the bus in your backpacks. When I talk about batteries, I'm talking about the big batteries that you'd see in a car that you would take to power lights and so forth. I'm a Venturer Scout service leader. Do I bring my tent and stretcher to Cataract on packing day? Absolutely you do, and you put them in the Venturer Scout G5 crate. Independent travelling and driving and parking in long-term parking, are we able to leave parking? Yes, Ash, I believe you will be able to get to your cars. I don't know how much they're going to stack them in, but you should be able to get to them. If I'm not attached to a unit but I want to visit them, is this arranged with their leaders? Yes, that is the best thing to do, liaise with the Jamboree Scout leaders around visiting times. That would be fabulous. Catering arrangements, if any, will be done via the coach captain, Scott. So once the coach captain is appointed, they'll reach out and have a conversation with them around what they're doing. Under 18s allowed at packing day. Yes, as a Venturer Scout service leader. Participants, no. Participants will be asked to stay in their car. Can we still apply for independent travel? Email nsw.contingent@nsw.scouts.com.au and we will change that for you. Is there a cost for activities? Yes, I don't know what they are. They'll be advertised when they advertise them. Do you take chairs to your allocated jobs? Yes, possibly, depending on what your job is. So yes, you may need a foldable chair to go with that. Sarah, your independent travel, I will need to liaise with you directly. So can we have a conversation about that offline? Maybe tomorrow, Sarah, if you've got some time, give me a buzz. Where can we find the delegation form for someone to collect our shirt on our behalf? I will pop that back up. So there is the QR code, Arthur, so you can fill in that form. Conversations are not loading. Now find out where we got to. Matt, you want to arrive early on the 5th? There are no meals until lunchtime on the 6th. So my suggestion is arriving on the morning of the 6th. If we're attached to a Jamboree unit as a service leader, is there any additional information that we should know or should be informed? No, other than just have a conversation with your Jamboree unit leader and see what they're doing. But basically, as an attached service leader, you're there to sleep and eat, and that's it really. When do we find out what service we will be doing and who we might be able to share with, or better to supply a single tent? I would say take a single tent, unless you know other service leaders who are going, and then you can have a conversation with them. But otherwise, plan to take your single tent with you. Jobs will be allocated within the next 2 to 3 weeks. If I'm camping with service leaders and not your group, will I be on the bus with them? We are allocating the buses as best we can to have people from geographical locations placed on those buses. So it is most likely that you will be on that bus, even if you are not camping with them. Traveling independently, confirm I'm good to carry my own gear. Absolutely. Just remember you need to carry it from your car to the site. Will service leaders have access to power? Yes, you will likely have access to power, not to your tent, but you're likely to have access to power to charge things, but you will not be able to put a power lead in your tent. Stupid question, but can we have a packing list? Maybe it's already emailed. Edwin, check out the newsletters that we've sent you. It was in newsletter 2 and the special edition bulletin that we sent out to service leaders. Do you need to bring plates and utensils? Yes. Even if we drive, do we have to stay at Batto Scout Hall? No, but we do need to manage the process of getting you in and out of the site. How to label gear that is going to be packed, that's up to you, but I would suggest putting a piece of A4 paper into a plastic sleeve and taping it to your items with your name and phone number on it. How do you get into Olims? Alice, you go to AJ2025.com.au and click Manage Application and use your login details. If we're allocated to a unit but want to meet with others and catch up in the service leaders area, yes, you do still have access to that. So by all means, you can do that. Will you get an email where the bus is picking you up and dropping you back? Yes, you will. Once that's all allocated, you'll also be able to see that information in Olims under Travel. Will junior service leaders, being our Venture Scout service leaders, have access to power? Yes, they can probably gain access to charge some items, but again, you will not have power to your tent. Do you know how much space we will have per tent on our service leader site? A 4-person tent is about it for an individual. We are trying to pack a lot of people in to this. There's about 1,900 Venture Scout service leaders and service leaders allocated to the space. So please don't bring a 12-man tent for 1 or 2 of you. Do service leaders, hang on, I skipped a couple there. Packing list for youth is online but doesn't mention swimwear. Don't forget that. Absolutely, there was a few things we probably didn't include in that. Can we drop into the eatery for a meal if we're attached to a Jamboree unit? No, you cannot. You are not catered for out of the eatery. You are catered for with your Jamboree unit. They will not let you in. Your card will not work. Do service leaders have one role for the whole time or rotate through different ones? That will depend on the allocation that you've been given and the role you've been given, but you'll still get to see plenty of the Jamboree, I am sure. 33 minutes of Q&A done. All right, lots of thumbs up and clapping. Please get that form filled in if you're not attending packing day. Oh, we got another question. Have they a contracted cleaning company? Yes, they do. Toilets will be cleaned by a contracted cleaning company twice a day, but I'm sure that sub-camp service leaders will also be cleaning them throughout the day. There has been a stack of emails come into the contingent mailbox already. The team will get onto those in the next 24 hours. So please keep your questions coming through to the New South Wales contingent mailbox if you have any. There is another newsletter bulletin due to come out shortly. So stick with that. Dion has just asked, do we need a mess kit? Absolutely. You do need to bring your mess kit if you plan on eating. You have access to a laundromat off-site who will do pickups as well if you want to send your clothes for washing. It comes at a cost, but it is available. Keep your questions coming to the contingent mailbox. We will get to them in the next 24 to 48 hours. If you have any more, please send them there. Looking forward to packing day on the 16th of November. Gates will open from 7:30 in the morning. Can we have the email for the welfare team? nsw.contingent@nsw.scouts.com.au is the email address for the welfare team, for the contingent leader, and for every other director for the Jamboree. All right, thank you everybody. We will wrap tonight up and round it out. If you have any further questions, please email them through to the contingent and we will get to them. Those that have come in, we'll get to them in the next 24 to 48 hours. Please check if you've got any outstanding payments. We would really appreciate those coming in very promptly. Also, if you have not completed your blue card, can you get that done in the next couple of days? That would be fabulous. Thank you all for attending. Thank you to our two Auslan interpreters, and sorry it was a bit of a whirlwind for you both. We will speak to you all on packing day.